Hi, welcome to Dynamic Insights. Thank you for making the time to watch this video. I truly appreciate that. And as I said in the last week's video, I have decided to categorize my videos into 4 different areas so that the personal development plan may be more holistic and you're able to follow one line of thought each week. So the first week we focus on career or business depending on what you're in. The second week we focus on family and relationships. The third week we'll be focusing on health and personal well-being, and the last week we'll keep it to books. So the book club will continue in the 4th week of every month. So I hope you got time to watch last week's video that was focusing on that first pillar of career and business. And today we look at family and relationships, and I thought I would start off this line of thought with just how you build relationships. How do you get to build great relationships? You know, in this modern times, life is so fast. People are so busy looking for this and that, trying to achieve this and that relationships have become completely transactional. We never look at people's faces anymore. In fact, the other day I was shopping in a market that I don't usually shop at, and I saw a lady who used to be my nanny quite a while back, and I had helped her set up a business. She was really good with people, and I knew she would succeed in business, which she has. But the interesting thing is, when I went to buy her stuff, I was selecting the fruits, and she was busy with a few clients. Then those clients went, and she came to me telling me, "Oh, pick these are good." She didn't look up. She was very busy just getting me to buy what I need to buy, until I called her name, and she was like, "Oh, goodness, it's you. Yeah, I see, and you didn't even see me." It says, "Yeah, we are busy, So that is so typical of many of us. We do not see faces. We just see the money that we are going to exchange for whatever we are offering. It's become so transactional. And unfortunately, this can get even to the home, where the conversations are, have you done your homework? Have you gotten this? Do you need some money? And we really do not take time to look at people's faces or connect with their emotions. There's even a study I was reading about children nowadays who are the first of their kind because they are competing for attention from their parents. They're competing for that with lifeless gadgets. So before they would be competing maybe with chicken that their parents are feeding, or other animals, or some chores in the house, but now they're actually trying to grab some attention from gadgets, grab their parents' attention from gadgets. It's such a pity, it's actually quite scary. There's even one time I was watching a movie with my kids, and there is one particular kid in that episode who had really painted himself some scary colors on the face and came for breakfast hoping that somebody would notice and ask, but nobody did. So we need to get out of that. We need to relook at our relationships and see which relationships do we value and how can we nurture those. And starting with the ones that are most personal, more closest to us. If you're married, your spouse, that's the one relative you've chosen for yourself anyway, so you might as well nurture that relationship. And if you're going to be in that marriage for the long haul, then that relationship is very important. So nurturing that one, thinking about your parents and how you can nurture that relationship, your siblings. Hopefully you're in the same country, but even if you're far away, you can think of how to nurture that relationship. Your friends, some of your childhood friends, others that you've made in more recent years, thinking about your friends. Your colleagues, they take a big chunk of your 24 hours, so you might as well build that relationship in some way or other. It may not necessarily be personal, but that it's more than just transactional. And when you think about your neighbors, we laugh at it, but we don't even, you know your neighbor's car, but you don't know how they look like. Those are jokes, but I don't think they are really funny. So we need to think about how to build those relationships. So I'm going to give some 4 tips that we can use to deliberately, because this one is a deliberate effort to building our relationships. And the first thing you need to think about is time. Giving time. Giving time is actually giving your life, because life is made up of time. Your lifetime is actually the amount of time you'll have spent on this planet. So you could almost equate life to time, because that's all there is to it. And then depending on how you trade that time, we see then how you've spent your life. And hopefully that bit of time will be dedicated to building relationships. Actually, a big part of it. So giving time and face-to-face time, unless it's impossible. Of course, if somebody is out of the country, even that, you can save up and travel. We travel for other reasons, but we can also travel for the sake of relationships, maybe with your siblings, and you take the time to save up for that. So face to face, it's a pity when you see a group of people sitting for lunch, or some I saw the other day just sitting along the street. It's a closed street within an estate, and they were all sitting in a row, each with a gadget, nobody talking to the other. So that's not face to face, So you need to connect in a way that you're able to make conversations. Long ago, there are some phrases that used to be very common, like I'll pass by, I'll pop in. People would come to your house, pop in by your office if they're doing some things near your office. Those phrases seem to have gone, and we think an SMS will do, but an SMS is not enough. Pass by, say hello. Just the other day, there's a friend of mine who got a baby, and we had a public holiday recently, and I called her to ask, do you have any visitors? She said no. And I said, shooks. Why? Because I just wanted to be the one to go and have a connection, be able to chat, because sometimes we wait for functions for us to meet up, and in a function there's just so much connection that can happen. So looking out to give time to individual people or small groups of people, a group of close friends or a group of siblings, but better still if you can manage to give one-on-one. You're telling that person you're important enough to take a share of my life in terms of this amount of time every so often. Okay, so that's very important. The second tip I can give is getting good, positive communication going with your friends, with your relationships. So we feed ourselves with a lot of negativity. Most of the news and some of the movies we watch are, they just bring out the worst of people. There's so much negativity until it looks like the world is upside down. The more nasty you are, the more famous you seem to be. So cleaning yourself out of that and trying to absorb a bit more positive content, so that when you interact with your friends, you have something positive to discuss. That in your interaction, you have more positive things to say than negative things, more compliments than corrections, more, boosting information, where people feel better when they have spent time with you, or when they have received a phone call from you, that by the end of it they feel more uplifted. So are you a gloom dispenser, or do you bring joy? So it's a question to ask yourself, that when people see you, do they always expect bad news, gossips, criticism and all, or can they expect, wow, so and so is here, so refreshing, it's like a breath of fresh air. So build your relationship with positivity, with bringing in a lot of good news. So even when they are talking being the one to listen, and to listen deeply. And when you listen, not to be thinking of how you will counter that argument or how you'll bring in your own story. Just listen and pick out the positive things in that conversation. Whatever they have said, flesh out the positive and mirror it back to them so that they feel great after that conversation. So that is tip number 2. The third thing is teamwork. I know the word is used a lot in organizations, but even in personal relationships, or when you think about your siblings, having common projects builds relationships. So if it's with your spouse and you are working towards a common goal and it's very specific and you have expectations, you're setting goals, you're planning, it really builds you together. If it's a family and you're organizing a camp and you sit down to prepare and give each other roles and expectations, plan what activities you're going to do there, that really bonds the family. Or if it's a graduation party for one of your friends and you come together and decide you are forming the committee to discuss and plan and give each other duties, really that is building relationships through teamwork. So think of things, if it's your spouse and you decide you'll be taking one holiday a year or 2 and maybe monthly dates, then you sit, schedule it out, decide on the places, decide on the things to talk about and not to talk about, just make an activity out of it. And in doing that, you're building a common language, a common purpose, and the relationships gets better. And the fourth thing that you can do to build your relationships is to take interest in other people's lives. Real, genuine interest. If it's people you're living with, you genuinely ask them how their day was and take interest, and you listening to what they have to say, getting emotionally connected with their experiences of the day. If there are people who don't live with you, then basic things like their birthdays that you remember, and even if there is no party, that you call them that day, tell them you're thinking about them and wishing them a good day. If it is even colleagues that they are going to present something critical to some stakeholders, that you wish them well in the morning and that you're remembering. So you capture people's lives and try to be like the one who holds the memories for them, especially if they are close relationships to you. And not to think too much about how much you're receiving from them, but to be the gift to them by being the one capturing those moments. I've been looking for a job, and if one of your friends has been looking for a job and finally they have been called for an interview, do you call that morning to say, I'm thinking about your interview, all the best on that? Or if they had gone out of the country and when they are back, you're able to say, how was it? And just getting to capture their life, taking genuine, really genuine interest in other people's lives and looking out for them. And doing something about it, not just thinking, but doing something about it. Actually, yesterday I was caught up in something like that, where I had been thinking about a friend of mine and thinking, goodness, I haven't touched base with her for so long. And I didn't call in good time. I went into meetings, and in one of those meetings, she actually sent me a text and said, hey, you're so out of my life nowadays. What is happening? And I felt so guilty, that I had thought about her, but I hadn't done anything about it. So later on, of course, I said, wow, what a nice coincidence. I was thinking about you and you wrote. And, sometimes it's whatever kind of thing, because they may not even believe you are thinking about them, because how come it took an SMS from them for you to remember that you were thinking about them? So think about them and do something about it, and that will build your relationships. So I hope those 4 tips have helped, so that you are deliberately building your relationships and making life better for yourself and for others. This is Irene Kinuthia, truly committed to being the cheerleader of your dreams. Dream it, build it, love it. Bye for now.